Hello again. Here we are in Triengen again, and this time we will take the way from Triengen to Neuchâtel via Grenchen. As always, before I start to go to Neuchâtel, I always make a circuit around to try the aeroplane, and in some cases it's good to start up with and touch and go. I'm taking off, and this time we have to land at runway 15 in Lincoln, and this is a short runway, and in the most of the cases you have to proceed with the short field takeoff and landing procedure. Now we are at the downwind for runway 15, and we are starting to prepare. Of course, we need to keep the speed and the flaps on 10 degrees, but at the same time, being the runway, we put the gear down. The Cutlass has a gear, and actually is something that's considered complicated. Here we are at the end of runway, and here you see the field. It is very special because at the end of the downwind for 15 in Triengen, you need to make a steep turn in order to put you in final for the runway 15. So you need to take care how you do, and go snell, goes very fast. Now we just finished the base and we are on the finals. Here you always need to have the right speed, and in this case you have to keep it at 70 knots. You can come higher, it is much more appropriate, and here you need to keep the speed as low as possible till the threshold. You need to, as long as you go slower, you need move more in order to keep you in track. The way to Grenchen, the clouds were at 5,000 feet Q.N.H, mid-sea level, and the way to Neuchâtel Airport was something like zigzagging till in order to avoid going to the other, keeping the VFR conditions. And of course, you need also to know that I tried to go through Grenchen in case you don't want to receive approval to cross the CTRs. Just south from Grenchen it is the CTR from Bern, but for Grenchen it makes sense because the upper level is 4,500 feet, so you don't need to request any approval to cross Grenchen. So you can go directly to Neuchâtel without getting involved with the towers of the two airports. As you see, the clouds are enough, but the conditions are VFR. Of course, during the weather in May is as expected, turbulences and windy. But this is not a problem for you to enjoy your flight. This is the Grenchen Airport. As you see from above, it is a big regional airport where there are many training facilities for Switzerland. After leaving Grenchen, we are on the way to Neuchâtel, and this is very interesting because there is a small peninsula close to Château de Gressier, or the city on the right side is La Neuveville, and it is a very interesting place because this is the lake before the lake of Neuchâtel, and now we are starting to prepare our descent for Neuchâtel. The Neuchâtel is a very beautiful airport, and the runway that I was planning to land was the 05, as you see on the other side. The other side is the 23, and there are also hangars and a very interesting place for you to go there. The circuit is not particularly, it is a normal one with you need to keep the minimum altitude for the circuit is 2,500 feet, and it is somehow extended this day, and you need to be pay particularly attention because there are some parachute activity. So in this case I took the beginning of the downwind for the runway 05 in order for me to avoid the parachutists that they were coming down that time. You need to be cautious because of course there is no tower in this airport, and there is a lot of activity, so you need to inform them, and you need to see for parachutists before you enter the sector north. Now I am entering the sector north. I am actually between sector east and sector north, and I am descending for the 2,500 feet. You are over the lake of Neuchâtel, and actually it is a right downwind in the case of runway 05, and you just need to start the preparations. I personally prefer to put the gear down before I enter the circuit, that I am sure that everything is working well, and I have 3 greens and a check that the landing gear is down and low. There was also another one on the circuit which I'm looking around because actually I am at the beginning of the downwind 05, and I need to be sure if I am not one for landing or another two. So always look for the traffic, for parachutists, and when you are clear of this, you are starting for the preparations. Here we are on the downwind. You have all the time in Neuchâtel because the distance, it is a very good and normal circuit. So the gear is already down. If you are okay with the speed, you can bring the flaps at the 10 degrees, and you are starting the preparations for you to land at the airport. Here we are at the base for runway 05, and I am already with 20 degrees, and of course it is also important that you start the final checkup before you enter the final. Normally I use the word dumps, which means gear, the undercarriage down, the mixture in, or in the case of Switzerland, sometimes not in case of high altitude. The power is in fine, that means the propeller is in forward, and then everything is set. You just make a thrust control, and in this case everything is going well. Another particularity of the finals when you go for the 05 is that the city is before is a little bit high, so sometimes you need to sleep the aeroplane, and also you need to take care. You see on the left side there are always gliders that you need to respect them and always take care of the position. And of course it's a long runway in comparison to Triengen, so you can leave the aeroplane to roll, and here is the entry, and it is easy to vacate the runway. And just a trick, in case you need you see an airport on your in front of you, you can make a right turn and park on the heliport for him to give flaps. And here we are ready for takeoff, and we have to take off on the same runway, the 05. There is a long runway, so you can leave it with a little bit to roll, but in my case, always making these runways short takeoff. As soon as you rotate, you don't need to wait long to bring the gear up, and this is particularly difficult here because actually when you take from 05 you are in the sea. In case you lose the motor, in this case it is very difficult because on the left side is the city, particularly Auvergne, and there you are very low and you don't have a lot of alternatives to reach the land. So this is very, very particular, And this is the reason why I really make full throttle takeoff, just like in short takeoff, that I am sure that the engine is working perfectly. The way back will be the same. We will go through Grenchen and then I will try to arrive to Triengen. The weather will continue to be turbulent and the clouds will always be at the level of 5,000 feet. And in this case, you always need to keep the distance from the clouds, and since you are always in the VFR conditions. Now we are flying direction north from the Neuchâtel, and it is a particular place because it is difficult in case you have something, a problem with the engine. Here you see the way back to Triengen through Grenchen, and in this case I am arriving at Triengen. I am at the sector east, and here is also a particularity. You see there is a lot of turbulence. As always, I put the gear down always at the sector. So in this case on the sector east. The runway that I have is still the 1.5, but you need to be extremely careful to see what is the wind, because we are landing in a short field, and it is very, very important that you don't land with tailwind. You really, it's a very short field, and you will really go till the end of the runway. So take care of the wind in Triengen because it is a short field. So in this case, after checking the wind, the runway will be the 1.5, and we will also proceed. Now I'm at the downwind for 1.5. The gear is already down, and 10 degrees of flaps. I'm making the last controls, and you also need to try to get used, because I repeat, this is a short field, and people that they are coming from big airfields may have a different perception of this field. So here is steep turn on the base lake, and then you are at the finals for 1.5, and of course here you need to use the acronym GABS, gas, undercarriage, mixture. Mixture is full inside in this case. The propeller is forward. You just make the last checks in case of go around. You always have to be aware that a go around in a short field is a normal procedure. You should not even consider if you see that you are not stabilized, or the speed is not okay, or something is changing in the wind, and you need to take care that everything is perfect when you are out of the sky. Then you need to flare. Don't flare too long, put it down, and then leave it to roll around. That was my flight for today. If you enjoyed it, please try to subscribe for me to continue to make this video.